Hi, 8th grade and algebra. We're actually going to do the same thing today in your table of contents. Today is the 8th. Whoops. And what we're going to talk about today is interpreting slope and intercepts. Okay, and I'm actually going to be on, oh goodness, I need to catch up my pages. I'm going to be on 21 through 22. Okay? All right. You should have two yellow sheets of paper. One looks like this, the bathtub, and the other is about a hairstylist. I chose these because what I want to do is really show you a real-world example of how does the linear function actually work, okay? So if you look at the first one, the hairstylist, you have Adrienne. She's a hairstylist at a new age salon, and she pays a monthly fee. And what did we say about a monthly fee? It's a one-time deal that we add or subtract, okay? To rent a station at the salon. The graph below represents the profit that she makes each month based on the number of haircuts that she performs. Okay, so let's kind of look at this. We have our origin is right here. Okay, that is our origin. Now, what do you notice? The graph actually intercepts the y-axis at a negative 200, doesn't it? Okay. Can we interpret, well, we have a graph. We could actually find the slope. But my goal is to actually write the equation. And I apologize. Where is my notes? Okay. All right. So let's look at if Adrienne does 21 haircuts. And remember that the x-axis, our independent variable, is the number of haircuts. And the profit that she makes is going to be the y-axis. Okay? So at 21 haircuts, what is her profit? And it goes all the way up to $150. Okay? And remember, profit is after your expenses. Okay? Now they're asking, what is the slope of the line? Now, we can use any 2 points on a graph, and you're looking for 2 clean points. So what we're going to do, remember that we can do any of them, actually. I can do these two, because clean point is where the x and the y grid intercept exactly on your linear function, okay? So all of these are clean points because we're working with whole numbers. All right, so remember that the slope of a line is change over y divided by your change, sorry about that, change in x. Okay, so I need to make a right triangle. Okay, and then I need to find what is my rise, what is my change. And so if you notice, the change from 150, or rather 50 to 150 is what? Yeah, we're not counting by ones, are we? So we need to 150 minus the 50. It's a change of 100. Okay? Now, what is the change from 15 to 21? That's right, it's 6. So we take our rise, which is 100, and then we divide it by our run, which is 6. And if you do the math in your nice little calculator, you will get 1666. I know it wasn't a pretty number, but that's okay. We'll work with it. All right, so what is the slope of the line? It is 16, 6, and 6. Okay, so what do these numbers in the slope represent in the context of the problem? Well, what that means is that for every haircut, right, because what I did is I determined if I were to, when I divide that, I'm finding the unit rate, and the constant rate of change is $16.66, okay, for every haircut. So what do the numbers in the slope represent in the context of the problem? That she earns, well, you could actually reduce. Let's do it this way. 100 divided by 6, and it reduces. If I divide both of those by 2, it's $50 for every 3 haircuts. And if I were to divide this, I would get 1666. But we can do it this way. Let's say that we earn $50 for every 3 haircuts. Or $16, and I wish it was a prettier number, but sorry, for 1 haircut, okay? All right, so what is the x-intercept? And the x-intercept, we know that this is the y, but the x-intercept is at, the x is going to be 12, and that's when y equals 0. So what are the xy's? What does this mean in the context of the problem? This, at 12 haircuts, she begins to earn a profit. Because remember, when you're in business for yourself, you have some expenses. Okay, she has to pay for her chair at that salon. So already she's, we call it in the hole, right? And it takes a while. She has to cut some hair before she can finally start making a profit. So let's talk about what is the y-intercept, which is right here. That means that when x is 0, y is negative 200. So what do the values x and y of the y-intercept mean in the context of the problem? This is Adrian's expenses before any haircuts. Okay? So what you have, this is a great model, and especially if you're a business owner, you kind of want to know, when am I going to start making a profit? And so she knows she can look at this and say, I better at least have 12 haircuts before I can ever start making any type of profit. And so what if this number were 50? She might say, maybe I need to increase the cost of my hair, or increase the cost of the haircut, which would make the rate of change a little bit higher. Okay? All right. So how would we write this equation? We would say that y is equal to 1666 times your x minus 200, right? You have your y-intercept, you have your rate of change. Now, I could also rewrite this as 50. If I wanted to leave it as a fraction, I could, because that is exactly the same thing. Okay? All right, let's look at the second one. Oh, sorry. All right, Billy Bob, ancient bathtub that drains slower than the chickens. So, I'm sorry, than the Dickens. Just a little bit of an expression. He filled up his tub and let the water drain out to see how long it would take to drain. And the graph below represents the number of gallons of water remaining in the tub and the time in minutes. So we know that the first one was a positive slope. We know that this is a positive value. 1, because the right side of the equation goes to the sky, and you notice as x increases, so does y on our linear function. Okay? This one means that it is declining. As x increases, my y decreases on the line. So we know that our equation is definitely going to have a negative right in front of our slope, and we will have an x, but we'll come back to that in a little bit, okay? All right, so how many gallons of water are in the tub after 6 minutes? And we notice that our x, we look at 6 minutes, and we're going to go up, meet our function, find the y. That means that there are 12 gallons left. Okay? So what is the slope of the line? Okay, from this graph, we need to find 2 clean points. And I see one right here, and then I also see one right here. And the way to see if you have a clean point is you should see a pattern of those clean ones. There's one, and there's one, and you notice that there's a distinct pattern, okay? All it takes, though, is to make a right triangle off of any 2 points, okay? And remember that the slope of a line is your change in y divided by your change in x. So let's look at my change in y. That means that I have 12 and 8. So what is 12 minus my 8? Because each block is 4, okay? That's right. It's going to be 8. So, oh, I'm sorry. 12 minus 8 is 4. My bad. So sorry about that. My change in x is going to be 6. And these are increments of 1, so 9 minus 6 is 3. Okay? So I found my slope, and I know it's going to be a negative 4/3. And I love fractions, especially when we're talking about slope-intercept formula, because it tells you that the change in your y is changing greater than your change in x. So for every 3 changes, every 3 minutes, I'm losing how many gallons of water? 4. Oh, sorry about that. That was a negative slope, and we knew that just because of the shape of the graph, okay, or the direction of it. So we know we're going to have a negative 4/3 here, okay? But the y-intercept, what is it going to be? That's right, 20. And when it's a positive, so I am going to write positive 20, okay? All right, so from your other one, what I'm going to do is I am going to, because I'm running out of time on on the video, I want you to look at the first one that we did, and I want you to apply the same thing, okay? Looking at your graph, what do you think that it means? And we will go over this when we meet tomorrow. Bye. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry. Ms. Kowalski's a little bit behind. Go ahead, and I want you to trim these with scissors so that they will fit in your journal, and put them on 2 pages, your left and your right, okay? You also have, where is it? This right here. I want you to practice, okay? I want you to practice on the the multi-representation. And if you notice here, we need to solve for y, okay? We need to get rid of that 3x, so y equals, when you cross the line, you change the sign. Now I have it in slope-intercept formula, okay? Now, remember that we can do any x's that we want. And I'm going to pick 0 is always a good one. Maybe 1 and 2, okay? You don't have to do any more than that. Now, remember that we know what the slope is. We know what the y-intercept is. 2 points, we can create a graph. And then the verbal. That means that contains the point. Obviously, you're going to use the function, which is the rule. Okay, substitute 1 in for x, and then solve for y. This is really pretty self-explanatory. The only thing that you may have difficulty, that should be fine, is on the back. You do not have to do this, okay, because we haven't talked about it. All right, have this completed as well as finish the yellow one, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Bye.